to him from Master Farad that when you make trouble for these people and they don't like you anymore, tell them you accept exile and take care of us for 20 years.
Are you even thinking about exile yourself? Do you think in those terms at all?
No, if I become a wicked person, I would like to exile myself.
But as far as a separate state or separate nation...
The only people need to be exiled are people who can't live in peace with other people.
All right, then that's a big change there. Another change, and again, I'm just going to go down the list of things that were formally connected with the Bilalian or black Muslim movement as philosophy. The white man is the devil philosophy quietly died out around 1975. And how did that happen? Why did that happen?
And I like the way you put it. I believe you're correctly informed. It quietly died out.
Yes.
Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself was killing it himself.
I see.
In the last few years of his life with us, may peace be upon him, in fact, he pleaded to the community almost to accept Caucasians, at least accept them as people deserving respect from us. Mm-hmm. He said if they can treat you well and respect you, then you have to return that, and he had opened up businesses and had created a lot of business associations and relationships with us and Caucasian people, Mm-hmm. And he was all the time telling us at the private meetings of the staff that you have to accept the Caucasian as a man, as a human being, and don't be ignorant. Mm-hmm. Don't be ignorant, because some of the members weren't aware that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was speaking from scriptural terminology when he was calling white people devils,
I see,
yes.
And
the concepts had to be understood. There was a lot of allegorical and symbolic meanings there that had to be understood. He knew that, but many of his followers didn't, and he chose not to tell them, because if he had told them, they would have perhaps rejected him.
I see.
He said he used these things as attractive bait. At the time, the conditions were there, and his kind of teaching was very attractive, and he wanted the people, so he used it.
I see. So at the moment, today in a mosque, you'd never ever hear that spoken?
Devil?
Yes.
Certainly. We call the white people devils, the black people devils.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. When they act like devils, we call them devils.
Okay, when they act like devils. Well, is the term devil then used more for characteristics that you would consider evil, whether they're displayed by a black or a white or an Asian or whatever race? It's the characteristic, the trait, the act, and not the color.
And not the flesh, right.
Okay. I have so many questions for you. There's one, this past year in Washington, the Hanafi sect held 134 people hostage for 39 hours. Mm-hmm. And that was caused, from all that we've learned, by an internal Muslim conflict. I was wondering what role you played in that. And the other question I have, if any, in trying to facilitate and end that siege, facilitate the ending of the siege, and along with that, what power do you have over sects like the Hanafi? Exactly how far does your power extend? Well, a lot of questions.
Well, I don't think I have any power over the Hanafis.
Mm-hmm. And why is that?
They respect us as Muslims, and we respect them as Muslims. Mm-hmm. I felt well obligated to do whatever I could to protect the hostages if there was any opportunity for me to do that. And I went to Washington during that siege. Mm-hmm. And I made an attempt to see the mayor, but I accepted that the mayor and the police department, they were in charge of what was going on there, and I was just there to taking a long shot that my presence, they might desire my presence. So I'm here. In case they need me, I don't have to be called from Chicago. Right. I'm right here, I felt obligated because the Hanafis had charged the Nation of Islam with the massacre of the leaders, Mr. Khalifa's family as children. And there were persons who went in the names of the community They used the X, you know, and they were identified as members of our community. I don't have any knowledge that those persons were really members. I don't know whether they just used those names to cover up something or not. And then they could have been fanatical members, you know. So I felt obligated to do something, at least not only for the hostages, but also for the Hanafis. I called Mr. Khalifa, and I told him that I've heard how he felt, and I want him to know that my sympathies had always been with him and his family.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So that would have helped to facilitate somewhat.
Well, I hope it did, and I believe it helped some.
Well, having you there, I think, was an important thing. As long as they realized that you were there, are there sects that violently disagree with the Nation of Islam, the Black Muslim movement, joining the world community of Islam?
I don't know of any.
You don't know of any?
I don't know of any, no.
All right. Is the Nation of Islam, the 2 million or so Muslims in this country, are they fairly together as far as philosophy, theology is concerned?
Well, there is we're going through a learning period, you know, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he prepared the membership to make the transition from the symbolic teachings, identifying devil as a physical object, a physical person, and identifying God and a physical person. Well, he prepared the community for a smooth transition from that kind of idea, belief, by teaching us that there is coming, he says, someone will teach you religion after me. He told us this. He said, someone will teach you religion after me. He says, I'm not teaching you religion so much now. He says, what I'm doing is trying to clean you up. And what he meant, that he was taking care of the social problems. He was mainly interested in taking care of the social problems. And he had to separate us from the Caucasian people, and even calling them devils. It was nothing that he invented. He was a Bible student too. His father was the son, he is the son of his father, who was a Baptist preacher for 50 years.
I see.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was very, very well familiar with the Bible from cover to cover. And in the Bible, he used to say that Jesus called the Jew a devil, you know, said, you are the children of your father, the devil, you know. So he spoke from the Bible, and I think he saw something like the Japanese people. The Japanese people, I heard Chinese people, the Chinese people said when the Caucasians, when they were bitterly against the Caucasians, when they would come among them, they would point them out and say, foreign devil.
I see.
Call it
yes.
Foreign devil, you know. And I remember reading in a book by, I can't recall the author's name now, is The People Who Walk in Darkness. He quotes, he uses the words from Julia, a slave, and during the days of plantation slavery, and he uses her words. He says that Julia said that she couldn't understand the white man evil treatment of the black people in slavery, the slave masters' evil treatment of the black people. Says they look, speaking of the Caucasian people, says they look. She says they look like God in the face, but they act like the devils in their hearts. You know, so I think the suspicion had already been created. The black people who were mistreated were already suspecting that the white man might be a flesh devil, a living devil in the flesh, you know.
So he took that.
He took it right. He used it, and it was good. And he separated the people. It was good, because at that time, the people who we were dealing with were those who had suffered the most under the Caucasian abuses, you see. And they couldn't be mixed with Caucasians. He wouldn't be able to control his audience if he had those people mixed, especially doing the therapeutic job that he did.
Okay, so
bringing out a lot of demons.
There was a period then when he felt he had to isolate.
Certainly, he was
people.
wise in doing so. Very wise in doing so.
I'm going to ask you about the conflict that is quite widely known between your father and yourself, and what the nature of it was, and how it was resolved finally, as it was resolved, obviously.
The conflict between myself and my father.
And yourself.
Right. Well, there was some conflict, all right, but I think he was playing the role of a teacher, and sometimes the teacher has to hide certain facts from the student, And looking back on my father's treatment of me, how I rebelled, and he excommunicated me, and would tell me I could come back. I came back. He would put me in position of minister again. He would set me up before his ministers and point to me as a special person, you know. And he did this several times, excommunicated me and returned me right back to my place of honor.
I see.
So looking back on that, I think the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't really disagree with me, but he had to protect what he was doing.
Okay.
It wasn't time.
There's another question concerning leadership that I'd like to ask. In Alex Haley's book on Malcolm X, he states that Malcolm X was assassinated by Muslims, and the implication or statement, as he sees it, is that this assassination took place because of an internal kind of struggle over power. What explanation is given, if any, to novitiate Muslims, to the person who's just joined the mosque who might be curious about that? How has that gone down in Muslim history?
Yes, well, I sensed among the following that there was sadness, a deep hurt and sadness existing in the membership because Malcolm had been separated from the organization, the nation, and I felt that the people, not only Malcolm needed restoring, but the people needed healing. They needed to be healed, freed from that kind of hurt that was in them, that I noticed in them. So I asked the membership to accept Minister Malcolm back as a minister of the Nation of Islam, who had done a great work. This was, I guess, not quite a year after I had come into office.
I see.
Maybe 6 to 7 months after I came into office. And I found that people were welcomed this, and they were very happy.
We're watching. Can you stop? I'm sorry. Thank you. It's on? Yes. Sorry, Dad. That's a lot of work. Oh, I never do that. Great. Go back to anymore? Oh, that's right.
Assalamualaikum. Inshallah, we open with our Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. With the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer. We seek refuge from Allah from Shaitan, the rejected, with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer. The praise belongs to Allah, the divine Evolver, the cherisher, sustainer of all the systems of knowledge, the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer, sole judge on the day of religion. You alone do we worship, and your aid we seek. Guide us on the straight way, the way of those in whom you have favored, not those who cause wrath, nor those who go astray. Ameen. Again, assalamu alaikum. And we're finishing up our Jummah, but I'll still put up the Jummah Mubarak. We're thankful for you all who are here live at the masjid, and also those who are joining us on our virtual link to welcome the New Africa Intelligentsia Conference Planning Committee and the second annual New Africa Conference. Takbir. We're honored to be the guest host. I know the first one was at Masjid Allah in Philadelphia, actually 10 years ago. back in 2015. We call that the year of new freedom because a lot of things happened that year. Alhamdulillah, we're here in Masjid Muhammad-Newark. And so I'm going to introduce one of the planning committee chairs, that is Ahmed Sabri, and he'll open up and greet us and let us know about today's session and also tomorrow's session, inshallah. And also Sunday, inshallah, will be virtual, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. First, I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to thank Muhammad-Newark really for having the idea to want to host the second annual New Africa Conference. I want to say that this is a very important engagement that we're engaging ourselves in. We don't see it as anything small. I do want to begin before going into the actual workshop, just give some background as to why we came up with the idea for New Africa Conference. And it goes back to the interest we had when we first started New Africa Intelligentsia. I think that was in 2000. I think we did it in 2002, and then they had the event at the Apollo, where Imam Muhammad gave us address at the Apollo. This all came about, of course, because of Imam Muhammad introducing the concept New Africa. I remember I was there at the convention when he first gave that terminology, New Africa, and I was like really excited. And that's what motivated us to really want to reach the audience that Imam Muhammad wanted to reach. So at the time we were at Master Taqwa Jihad, my brothers and I, four older brothers, but we felt that in New York, Imam Muhammad's message wasn't reaching the community, the African American community. So we took it upon ourselves to do our part in trying to give da'wah to what I think was like the neglected. Imam Muhammad had talked about that. He said one time, I think it was in Newark, someone asked a question about da'wah. He said, there hasn't been any da'wah in New York since Malcolm X. And so he felt the audience, which was the African American people, at the time he was trying to reach, wasn't being reached. The message wasn't going to them. So what we did was I wrote a letter to Imam Muhammad. Before we did the New Africa Intelligentsia, we would have we wanted to just basically give talks once a month at the National Black Theater. But we wanted always to be in line with Imam Muhammad, his direction. We didn't want to cause any hindrance to his work. So we wanted to see if we were in line with what he wanted. So I wrote a letter to Imam Muhammad. And in this letter it said, Imam Muhammad, many of the imams in your leadership, when they present you to the public, they present you as a Muslim leader, which you are. They present you as a religious leader, which you are. They present you as a humanitarian, which you are. I said, but they neglect to present you to the public as an African American leader. And I said that that's what we wanted to do, particularly coming from Harlem. So I sent that letter, and it was like a week later. I was expecting a correspondence through a letter, but he actually called my house. And he said, I mean, of course I was surprised. I'm just remembering one of the things he talked about. He said, he began talking a lot about Malcolm X, and how he said Malcolm was the one who introduced the Nation of Islam to other Black nationalists. He said Malcolm was the one who connected us to Africa. And he said, with regards to the letter and to our community, he said, we have become bougie. That was his exact language, bougie, meaning away from the people, aloof. We were not reaching the African American community. And that's what we wanted to do, and he was very happy with that. He said, I believe you'll be as successful as Malcolm. of course, like in our minds, like, there's no way to be successful with Malcolm. But I think Imam Muhammad was giving us hints in terms of like to study Malcolm, because he mentioned on several occasions, like how the da'wah that Malcolm did, like the strategies, like study strategies, like he's someone Imam Muhammad said we should study. Our community should study him because we produce him. What we see the New African Conference as doing is what we call, or what Imam Muhammad called, the other half of his work. There's a lecture, it's no longer on YouTube. Inshallah, W. Muhammad Publications or the Mosque Cares will release the video again. But it was online, it was called Cause and Effect. And in this lecture, Imam Muhammad said that what he wanted to do was do what he said, what I consider the other half of my work, which is establishing the African American identity. So that's really the aim of the New African Conferences. It's really an aim, it's not necessarily only for Muslim African Americans, it's for the African American. That's its purpose, to serve and establish the African American as a people. So I just want to give some background as to really the function. And inshallah, tomorrow I'll give more information regarding this concept of New Africa that Imam Muhammad created. And I want to mention this too, sorry. The conference, with regards to establishing New African identity, we only are focusing on like 4 topics: education, economics. And these are 2 things that Imam Muhammad said we need to concentrate on: education, economics. And then we have culture, which is a variety of things, and marriage/family life, because we don't have New Africa. We don't have model Muslim community life without family and marriages. So that's the bulk of, or the gist of the New Africa Conference for the subject matter. So today we're focusing on education. And we have invited members in the community who have started Islamic institutions, because we wanted to highlight what we're doing as a community to educate ourselves. And this is a big community. We have different interests, we have different ways to do that. So we look for these institutions in our community. These were the ones who were able to attend. So from the Islamic Learning Institute, we couldn't get the director, but Sister Sultana was supposed to be here. She couldn't make it, unfortunately. But someone from the Muslim American Logic Institute, the Islamic Leadership Training and Development Program. We could have Brother Bilal Hassan, the Claire Muhammad School Network, Sister Marsha Nevin Muhammad, and Al Mirath, which is the institute that Imam Rashad Abdul Rahman started, formerly known as the Institute of Quran Study and Leadership. We're going to have Imam Mujahideen, who's a student in that class, begin his give some information regarding those institutions. So inshallah, this message will go out to the community, and everyone, those listening, will have some information regarding these availabilities of these Islamic learning institutes. Because what we want to do as a community is basically we want to teach ourselves. We want to be like every other community and teach ourselves, and coming from the commentary of Imam Muhammad. So any of yes.
Is the time for questions?
No, I was going to ask those who are members to come up, and we'll begin our sessions. Then they will share history or information regarding their institute, and then after that we'll have question answers. So then we just want them to basically to present their institutes. Thank you, Assalamu alaikum. So,
I'll do Muslim American Logic Institute. I'm doing 2 institutes here. I'm a student of Muslim American Logic Institute, also known as Mali, founded by Imam Sunni Bookman. And then on the tail end, I'll finish up with the partnership that we have with the Islamic Quran Study and Leadership, now called MMN. So Mali Muslim American Logic Institute, I was honored to be a student since it's been several years now. And it's online, it's free. It's I'm trying to get my notes here. It's online, it's free, it's every Saturday morning and Sunday morning, starting at 6 a.m. and they go up to about 12 p.m. Depending on where your level of Quranic understanding is or Arabic identification of letters, you will get into a class that would match your understanding, and then you'll go through what they call the Mali method. The Mali method is a method that has been catered and tailored to our community. Knowing that most of us have jobs, go to school, we work in a busy environment. So it's catered to, our condition. And so the classes that you attend, it's online, it's virtual, and it's dubbed as an easy way to learn the Quranic Arabic. And some of the language around the importance of learning the Quranic Arabic is so that you could directly understand the revelation of the Quran yourself. We go over different tafsirs, over different dictionaries, Arabic English dictionaries, Arabic dictionaries, which allows us to do research in the Quranic Arabic, as well as the sources of science. Eventually we'll get into the sources of science that have been translated into Arabic, and then even the other forms of sciences as well. So I would advise all of you who are interested to join. You will just go to MuslimAmericanLogic.com, and there you'll be able to sign up and get access to the free classes. And that's all I have right now. There's a few events that are coming up. Imam Suleiman is actually going around the country sharing the new book that he has. And so he's doing book signings and Quranic presentations. The next one will be September 5th and 6th, and it will be in Washington, D.C. So the book is called Transcending Thought, Reflection and Commentary on the Quran. We just left the, I think it was the 15th annual, one of them, 13th annual Mali conference. We were in Raleigh, North Carolina. And the unique thing about the conferences now that they're being put on by the students. Shortly after Imam Muhammad passed, the conferences were hosted by different masjids in our association. But now that the students have evolved, they're also doing what we call reflections of the Quran, and they're also becoming authors. So once you learn how to read the Quran for yourself, be able to, of course, properly pronunciate the letters, but also be able to use the dictionary, you're also able to understand the Quran and give reflections. And so the books that we have that are coming out are books by the students themselves. They get a term about the subject. Right now we're talking about, or this year we're talking about marriage. Next year it's called the Year of Dawah. So there'll be publications and reflections from the students in relation to what Allah has revealed about Dawah and the different components of it. So again, on the website, MuslimAmericanLogic.org, I said .com.org, you'll be able to see the publications from the students, the publications from Imam Suleiman, as well as the opportunity for you to enroll in these free classes. They literally just started last week. So if you're interested, you still have time to sign up, inshallah. I think that's enough to present the Muslim American Logic Institute, one of our own institutes that was birthed out of one of our community members, Imam Suleiman, and those in association with Imam Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Marsha Nivens Muhammad, and today I will be presenting the Clara Muhammad Schools Network. So when we think about New Africa, as was stated by Brother Ahmed, uh, education is important, right? And so thus far we've heard about Mali, which is adult education. The Clara Muhammad Schools Network is centered on educating our children, and that education goes from pre-K education through 12th grade. So I'm going to give you a summary of what it is that we do, the work that we've been doing for the past 5 years, and how you can get in contact with us. For those who are online, I want to be able to have you all see. Unfortunately, those in the room, not able to give you all a visual just because they will have to turn out the lights. So I want to just be able to share, and I can share this at a later date as well for those who are interested in seeing. And you can also just reach us on our social media as well as our website to get access to these presentations also. So the Clara Muhammad Schools Network began in 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic. The organization was birthed out of a need to have the teachers and the schools really talk to each other, because that wasn't happening. And so we had full-time schools, weekend schools, virtual schools across the country that were operating, but they weren't connecting with each other in a very concrete way to be able to share resources and best practices. And so that really was the impetus for the birth of the Clara Muhammad Schools Network. Our vision is to produce right-minded individuals with necessary skills to develop good family and community life for mankind. So again, just centering us on the thought of New Africa, those are our goals, right? Those are our intentions, to create an environment where we are self-sustained in what we're centered on, which is Al Islam. And so for the children and for the school system, that is the contribution that the Clara Muhammad Schools Network seeks to give to that environment. Our mission is to facilitate collaboration and best practices for the growth and development of Sister Clara Muhammad school system in alignment with the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the insights of Imam W.D. Muhammad. A little later, I'm going to talk about some standards that we are currently in the process of making. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about these standards is that those are our sort of checklist items that our standards need to align with. They need to be aligned with the Quran, they need to be aligned with the Sunnah of the Prophet, and they need to incorporate the insights of the Imam. And that's how we create all of the work that we do. So when we think about the network, the Clara Muhammad School Network, we liken ourselves to the goodly tree, right? We are united like a goodly tree with firmly fixed roots. Our network consists of about 20 institutions. Again, some of those are full-time, some of those are weekend school, some of those are virtual schools, so they're occurring online. And we also have a school outside of the country, and that's the Clara Muhammad School in Bermuda. That's it. The Clara Muhammad, again, it's a network of trees. So when we think about the tree, if you think about trees, they have roots right underground, and those roots look like a maze of lines all connected to each other. And that's really our goal for the Clara Muhammad schools around the country and internationally, is for us to be connected to each other so that we're able to pass on the legacy of the schools for future generations. The other thing, when you're thinking about a tree, when you're thinking about that system of trees, because of their connection to each other, right? If one is struggling, then because of the connection they have, sometimes that will affect another tree, right? And so the other part of us wanting to be connected to each other is that we want to be able to grow together. There are some of our schools that are thriving, and there are others of our schools that could use some assistance. And so for us to be able to talk to each other, we do meet monthly. We get to share those practices with each other. And now schools that perhaps weren't connected to certain resources now have a connection to resources, have a connection to professional development services, have a connection to someone who can help them to get to the next point on their journey. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that we do have monthly meetings. We meet on the first Wednesday of every month from 6:30 p.m. until 8 p.m. And in that meeting, we sometimes bring on presenters that are able to share resources with us for our school, whether it's connected to finances, whether it's connected to a certain curriculum topic. We allow them to present. We also allow the schools to present, right? Because there are things that each of the schools do well, and we give them an opportunity to present that, because there may be something that is being done at one school that's not being done at another, and that's the opportunity for them to be able to share. We also survey the schools to find out various points of information from them. We have social media, so you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at CMS Network. Our website is cmsnetwork.org, so you can also go there to find out some more information. But together, we receive consultation, so we have done some professional development together, where we brought in a consultant to help us to strengthen various areas of our individual schools. We also share ideas, share challenges, come up with solutions together, and we go through a strategic planning process together. So again, our network is comprised of approximately 20 schools. That's 13 active full-time schools, and that 13 includes the 2 online formats. 3 of those schools are accredited. 5 of those schools that we have in our network are weekend schools. We also use the term strong in. The school in Charlotte, North Carolina actually has that in their name, the strong in school. And 2 of those schools are in restoration, but they are part of the network. Now, one thing to state here is that all of those schools do not bear the name Sister Clara Muhammad School or Clara Muhammad School, but from our standpoint, if they're following the model of Clara Muhammad School, then that suffices for us. And that's also a part of why we're creating these standards, because there are certain boxes that you're gonna have to check in order to be considered a Clara Muhammad School in the Clara Muhammad Schools network. And so that's something that we've been working diligently on. Our schools, we have a map of where the schools are located. And I won't give them all, but I'll try to just give you a couple of states just so you know. So California, Florida, Georgia, here in New Jersey at Muhammad-Newark, we have a weekend school. New York, North Carolina, I can't see that little writing. And I'm trying to remember them all. Tennessee, we have Wisconsin, we have Michigan, we have Missouri, Indiana, Arkansas. And so that just kind of gives you an idea for where the schools are. If you visit our website, you will be able to see this map so that you get an idea for where we're located throughout the country. And then Bermuda, of course, I mentioned that earlier. And so just to tell this story, I'll skip through the things that I talked about before, but we do have a board of trustees. There are 4 of us now. We had 3 for a very long time. I do sit on the board as the finance trustee. But there are 4 of us who come together every other week to meet, to strategize, to put together resources to help the schools grow. In 2022, we did a STEM conference in Atlanta, Georgia. We've been doing strategic planning since 2024. We have our 501c3, so we are a nonprofit, and we do have the 501c3. We have a podcast. It's called The Power of Educating Our Own. It comes on Sundays at 7 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and it's on the New Freedom Network. We have bylaws as with any nonprofit and 501c3 organization, and we do a lot of professional development. I think that's one of the key features of the Claremont Schools Network is that we provide professional development, and it's amazing. That I mean, I could try to describe it to you right now, but you actually have to be in a session. We talk about the ascension model and how to use that in the classroom and how to incorporate that. We talk about school culture and climate and those things that we need to be considering as we are developing these schools, not just to throw a school together, but to think about what it feels like for the children, to think about what environment the adults need to be creating in these schools. Okay. Some of our goals that we have been able to accomplish, and some of them we're still working on, again, professional development. We ultimately want to come up with an accreditation process for the Claremont schools. We want to come up with a method to raise funds. Funding is probably the biggest issue that all of the schools have. And so we did a really cool podcast with a couple of community members to talk about some unique ways for funding our institutions. In Bermuda, they have a what you would call a thrift shop, and the proceeds from that store go to the school. We've had those who work in mutual funds or insurance talk about ways that we can then utilize those financial instruments to help to benefit the schools. We also are interested in helping to support schools in opening new institutions. And we really want to get to the point where we can create a teacher certification. And that is, I think that is coming relatively soon just because of the nature of the professional development sessions and how thorough they are. And then just to kind of give you an idea of the work that we've been doing for the last 5 years, we collectively celebrate Founders Week. If you haven't heard of it, it's something that the Claremont schools do where between the birthdays, so if you're not already familiar, Imam Muhammad's birthday, Sister Clara Muhammad's birthday, and Raji Muhammad's birthday are all within that end of October to beginning of November timeframe. We coin that as Founders Week, and we do some of the schools do various different activities to commemorate the history of our community. We've also had the STEM conference, as I mentioned earlier, that was called Developing the Khalifa. That happened again in Atlanta, Georgia. The podcast, please tune in. There are some really, really great shows for the community to watch. And the last thing I'll highlight is that we were able to raise $10,000 to start the work of the creating the standards. So in November of 2024, the network met in St. Louis, Missouri, with the funds that we raised to work together the entire weekend to put the base of the standards together. And since that time, we've been meeting to get the meat on the bone, so to speak. So we're doing some really good work. We are currently looking for new board members. We want to be able to increase the amount of board members that we have. There is some marketing material online connected to us reaching out for board members. And if you're interested, let me know. Thank you. Again, the website is www.cmsnetwork.org.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Bala Hassan. I am a current student in the Islamic Leadership Training and Development Program, known as ILTDP. It is a program that's out of the conveners of imams in the community, put together a program that was designed to prioritize the future and current leadership development in this community. The purpose of the program is to facilitate acquisition and understanding of Islamic knowledge from the Quran, from the life of Prophet Muhammad SAW, and creations based upon the orientation, thinking, and language and logic of Imam Warfidi Muhammad. Allah forgive his sins, grant station in paradise. ILTDP is comprised of three main components. It's a 2-year program, by the way. Me, Imam Mujahideen Muhammad, Sister Marshall Muhammad, and Imam Khalid are among some of the students in our cohort, and we will be graduating, inshallah, in December of this year. It's comprised of three main components: community leadership, number 1, Islamic sciences, number 2, and number 3, Imam Muhammad's knowledge body. We meet at least twice a week for the 2 classes, every other week for the knowledge body of Imam Muhammad. That is, Imam Mubashir Gupta is one of our professors, is our professor for that. Imam Dr. Bashir Ali is community leadership, and Islamic sciences is held by Professor Salahuddin Muhammad, Imam Salahuddin Muhammad from Raleigh, North Carolina. But we also have different guest imams come to teach the various components of that class. So the community leadership component, really brief, just to give some sense of what we cover in each of the classes, is to understand the unique 90-year history, our 90-plus year history of this community, which we'll be celebrating soon, inshallah, our 100th in the next 5 years. The Quranic and natural foundations of community and leadership, the dimensions of Islamic leadership, the role of the leader in shaping the community life, the analysis of its different Islamic sources, including the Quran, the science and principles of creation, and the example of Prophet Muhammad, human nature, and history. And we also apply the principle of fiqh and the thinking of Imam Muhammad to the 5 pillars, and understand the major duties of community leaders, imams, as well, and understanding the practice, the principles of Islamic community governance and organizational development. The Islamic science component consists of introduction to our crash course. I will describe it in Ulum al-Quran, Ulum al-Hadith, the study of the Hadith, the study of the Quran, the Seerah of the Prophet, his life, Islamic history, the Sharia, Usul al-Fiqh, which is the law, Aqidah, our faith, and comparative religion. And then lastly, the knowledge body of Imam Muhammad just focuses on his vision, his mission, understanding the sources of his knowledge body in the context of the Islamic sources or the scholars that, popular scholars that in Islamic sciences that a lot of us may, or some of us may be familiar with, training in Imam Muhammad's language, education in Imam Muhammad's interpretation, explanation of the meanings and wisdom of our rituals, our religious rituals in Islam, and also understanding and training Imam Muhammad's interpretation, explanation of meanings and wisdom in the science in creation. So it's a very extensive program. Again, 2 years. We meet twice a week live, and every other week Professor Mubashir has his already preloaded into the computer. One of the things I said, it's like a graduate study. It's like you're back in school again. So there will be exams. We just go by quarters. So at the end of each quarter, there's an exam, multiple choice, true or false. So sometimes we have to write papers as well. And this past weekend, we as a cohort presented at IW50 in Philadelphia, mashallah, the madhab of Imam Muhammad. It's something that we chose to present as a group project at the event, which focused on not just codifying Imam Muhammad. What is a madhab? For those who may not be familiar with that language, what is the brief history of the development of madhabs or in Islamic sciences, and also understanding the time and place and the development of our community, and how Imam Muhammad's knowledge body can be considered a madhab. And how do we go about not just explaining that to members in our community, but also to members of the Muslim community and the greater African American and general public as well. It is not a free program, it is tuition based. So you will have plans, so payment plans you can get on as well. Some of us were sponsored by Massachusetts, which we be encouraged the messages to sponsor the next generation of leaders. So if you have young people or, in the community, and please consider reaching out to the ILTD program for sponsoring that young person. It is also a way you can audit the class and sit in the class and audit it, without the expense, but you can sit in and audit some of the things as well. So if you want to enroll in the program, the website is iltdp.com, www.iltdp.com. And you can also email Professor Salahuddin Muhammad as salah@iltdp.com. Again, it's salah@iltdp.com if you want more information, inshallah. And if my cohort said I missed anything on reference to ILTDP that you'd like to add? No? Okay.
And last but not least, the other institute was Al Mirad, formerly known as this Institute for Quran Study and Leadership. Masjid Muhammad here in Newark, we're honored to be a partner with this institute. If you notice how we started, this discussion, we started off with the Muslim American Logic Institute, which is for everyone to join, all ages, free access online at your convenience. Then we went into the Khair Muhammad Schools Network, highlighting the importance of K-12 development through these systems of knowledge. And then we went to the Leadership Institute, preparing our next generation leaders. And now we're going to present a program that's open to all of you again, members and others, to join as well. So this is called the Foundation of Islam and Quranic Arabic. This is a 2-year Islamic Studies Ijazah or certificate program. You'll get your certificate in Tafsir, Quranic Sciences, Tajweed and Qur'an, Arabic language, Hadith Sciences, Creed and Belief, Worship, and Islamic History. And inshallah, we're going to have an orientation on September 24th after Dhuhr. We're going to have a Ta'aleem and an orientation coming up. September. No, August 24th, excuse me. August 24th. We have our imam coming up. So all of you are welcome to join that Ta'aleem and also welcome to enroll. It has been sponsored by business people in our community. So all they require of you is to pay attention and to be serious about the study. It's every Tuesday and Thursdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it'll be here in the masjid, inshallah. For our sisters, inshallah, you're welcome to join us as well. During the winter hours when the night gets earlier, we do advise the sisters to be in the comfort of their homes. So we will provide a virtual link for their sisters, but we hope that the brothers will still continue to come out to build community, to build camaraderie with the brothers and the sisters. So again, you can check out our Facebook page at Masjid Muhammad-Newark, as well as our website, masjidmuhammad.org, for any updated information. And our contact is our Imam Naeem, who's the board chair or the Imam's chair of the council. You can reach him at 973-819-5958. Again, that's 973-819-5958. Or you can reach out to him at naeemmuhammad48@gmail.com. That's naeemmuhammad48@gmail.com. As well as Imam Rashad Abdul Rahman as the director. You can reach out to him at director@IQSNL. That's IQSNL.com, inshallah. So before we turn back over to Imam Ahmed, who's going to open up for discussions and has a few questions, we're going to ask our Nishan. Are you ready? Is Nishan? Okay. Nishan's going to do his commercial. Normally we have our community conversation podcast at this time, and so he's going to come up and do our interlude with a few items for you all to know about. You wanna come over here? You bring your products up over there? You wanna help them out? Okay. Takbir,
Allahu Akbar.
takbir,
Allahu Akbar.
takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So, for the commercial break, we're gonna sell some cheap detergent, heavy duty, liquid laundry detergent. And he said you can 4 times concentrated. That means you clean 4 times better than the other stuff. Other detergent. And this can clean 101 loads. And use this small cap, because if you use the small cap, the less detergent you use, the more detergent you have. And every batch of clothes you wash will be good. And we also the tube detergent is $20. And we're selling this Muslim journal for $3. And this shirt for Master Muhammad-Newark shirt for $15. And this New Africa 50th coin is $20. So inshallah, when we're done.
See the coin. Let me see the coin. Yeah. You can see it.
And inshallah, and buy one. Inshallah, you can buy one after this.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you all for your information, sharing with the community. Before we're gonna start conclude the session with some questions. And I know there's some questions in the audience. This will begin to be a question session. This first question, and then I'll give to the audience and come back to myself. To the panelists, why did you, kind of a personal question, why did you yourselves join the institutes that you're part of?
For me, well, was it you that got me into the program? No, but we would all talk about getting into the program. Myself, remember Jadine, Sister Marsha, Jadine told me about the program first, so that's how I found out about the program. I'm grateful to be part of the program now, since we have developed as a cohort a very tight relationship as students who wanting to learn and grow in leadership and mature in this community, into the various fields of interest that we may have in the community. So I'm very grateful for the program to be able to be with the students and be with the teachers that we have in the program, which challenges us to, within the material that we're learning, to absorb it and to apply it. And to be honest, I think some of us can attest to actually applying some of the things we actually learn in like lived time, like real time. So it's actually beneficial experience so far. So I'm grateful. It's helped me sharpen my skills, sharpen my leadership skills, sharpen my knowledge and presentation of this community's orientation, our leadership, but also the knowledge body as well, and sharpen my skills in the introduction to the Islamic sciences coming from people in our community who know it. You know, I think that's another benefit as well.
Why I joined Mali in particular was, of course, born and raised in our community. We were taught how to read Arabic as early as we can remember, and recite, and from memory mainly. But then growing up, I had our own sense of self-study, which does good. It may sustain myself to be able to understand for myself. But taking on responsibility of a wife and children and the community, you do have to get advanced knowledge. You have to get advanced understanding and methodology. And so Allah has blessed us with our own scholars in our community to teach us, to get off of one of the imams, she said, get off of the plantation of translations. So we're learning the Quran directly from the original text in Mali, and we're also able to compare and contrast and also understand how the imam was able to teach us. One of the stories that Imam Salim tells us is that he was able to, before Imam Muhammad passed, have dialogue with him to share with him his method that he's sharing with us now, and how he was able to identify how Imam was able to extract from the Quran directly. And that's very important, especially when we're talking about his knowledge body and new school of thinking.
So I'm actually a part of all three of these institutions. But for the Clyde Muhammad School Network, the motivation for being a part of that was to basically be able to talk to the other schools, to find out what worked in those other schools, what we had that they didn't have, and vice versa, right? But also to strengthen our situation, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, there are some schools that are doing fairly well and other schools that don't have all the bells and whistles that those schools have, right? And so I remember first being given charge of the school here, and not really being able to, get a firm hold of someone or someone's to kind of help with the effort or, provide that technical support. And that is what I do get from the network, from the various institutions, as well as those knowledgeable educators who are part of the network. So they may not necessarily currently be a principal, but they were a principal in the school before. And they are very helpful in providing that professional development, which is key for establishing what our schools look like across the board. And so that really was the motivation for me in terms of the network.
Shukran, thank you. Are there any questions in the audience?
Mr. Angelo. It's a very good topic. And I think we don't have a lot of people here because it wasn't explained what we was having. Because I just stayed because I didn't want to go home. Nobody there. So I thought, well, let me just stay to see what they're talking about. So this is a very good topic, but we should have explained it to the people in Juma so they'll know what we're talking about. And I think if we let them know we're talking about schools, that's a very good topic. I think a lot of people would be interested in that, to have their child in a Muslim school. That's very good that Marsha talked about all of those other schools in other states. Is that what that was?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do we have to go to the Board of Education in Newark to get a school in Newark? Is that what we need to do, or we don't have to do that?
We don't specifically have to do that.
But we gotta find a building. And most of the buildings are owned by the Newark Board of Ed. Most of the time, so we would have to go to them to buy the building at least.
So there have been some effort, and for those of you, I think everybody they can hear online. Okay, so there have been some efforts here locally to sort of seek out what is available for having a full-time school here. Prior to COVID, for those of you who are not aware, we did have a full-time school. We had made anywhere from on a high point, maybe like 8 to 10 children, right? And prior to closing, we had about a consistent, I say 4 to 5 children, right?
The school was where?
It was upstairs. So three of those children were my children.
But I'm talking about, I'm talking about.
Sure, I'm just giving
I
context.
understand one of the big schools.
Sure.
Who do we go and approach? Because I think that school it's a school somewhere on Belmont Avenue, Urban Turner Boulevard, wherever that's empty. I think is it in one of those schools down that way?
So, I'm not sure, but and for those of you who perhaps can't hear Sister Angie online, she's asking about buildings, and so I was just trying to give context, but I'll just go and say that there has been some interest in going to the board to look at the schools that they have that are, empty, the buildings that they have that are empty to open a full-time school. I think that the building is, probably less of a hurdle than putting the actual structure of the school together. And so that has to happen before a building, or we can go and seek out a building. So yes, do we need a building? Yes. Does the Board of Education have empty buildings? Yes. Can we go to the Board of Education and find out what we need to do to get into those buildings? Yes. More importantly, we need to put together the structure of this institution so that it's sustainable. And so that has been my interest, to make sure that it's sustainable. And I think that that's the interest based on the work that we do with the network, that's been the interest, of course, the board, is to make sure that we're developing schools that are sustainable, that aren't opening and having to close because perhaps we didn't strategically plan at the onset.
And another, situation, if we did get a school, I'm confused about that part. Will it, can our schools still stay under the Board of Education where the money will be being paid for the school through that era rather than just us? You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't have to be our school, but it could be our school, you know what I'm saying? Because it would still be the school underneath the Board of Education, because I think that's the problem for us. Like, if we get the building, how do we keep the building up? Who's gonna, it's still gotta get run the same way. Everybody still gotta be qualified. You can't have a teacher, oh, I'm a Muslim, so I'm gonna be a teacher.
Have to be certified.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think, is that the problem, that might be the hard problem for us to get a school? It's important after one of these years.
And so Sister Angie is asking some very pressing questions. Actually, Angie, I'm inviting you to watch our podcast this coming Sunday. The actual topic of the discussion is centered around the pros and cons of the school being under the masjid versus a separate entity. And so you may be interested in that conversation. But to your question about the structure, and that's the reason that I even mentioned the podcast, is that there is a mechanism in the state of New Jersey where you can be considered a non-public school. And we could very well go that route. There's been some conversation about what the charter structure looks like as well. I think to your point, and the question that you have is access to funding and how that works so that it's not solely on the community for supporting this institution. And to that point, some people have been interested in charter because with the charter model, what you can do is that money follows the child to the institution that they're going to. Some states, and we know this in the network, there are some states that actually have a system that's not that charter model, but they have the funding, where the funding can follow the child to any institution. New Jersey is not one of those.
Free, because our schools are free.
New Jersey, so one minute. So I just want to say this part. New Jersey doesn't have the funding that I'm mentioning to you right now, and I can't recall the umbrella term that we use for it, but there are schools, like our school in Tennessee, they have access to funding where that money follows the child. Florida also has it. So our school in Miami, those families, that money that would normally go to the public school for that pupil can go to the Clyde Muhammad school because Florida happens to have that model where that funding can follow the child. New Jersey doesn't have it.
New York doesn't have.
Yeah. And there's several states that don't have it.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Do New Jersey have a voucher program?
Thank you. I'm glad you said voucher program because I could not recall the term. That is the term that's the program that I'm describing. New Jersey does not have the voucher program. The other states that I've called out do, and I can't remember all of them, but New Jersey does not.
Oh, that's something we have to apply for?
It's something that has to be regulated in the state, at the state level.
Policy.
We got more flexible as a state.
But we have,
One more question. I remember a few years back, I brought to your attention about a, daycare here. Whereas we could start a daycare here and, move it up grade by grade over a period of time. And we're going to find out information, get back to me. I called you a couple of times and then it fell through. We never said anything else about.
Yeah. And so we did have the state come in and do an evaluation of the building. They did a walkthrough. They told us what, how many children we can have downstairs versus how many children we can have upstairs. There are some upgrades that we needed to make to the building. I want to say that that last evaluation happened in 2019 and then COVID. So there hasn't been any follow-up since then. I'll also add that, I was made aware that initially this, and I know, so this is a New African conference, right? We're talking about education in general, and I'll address these questions that are specific to here. But I just want to acknowledge that the conversation is education in general. But for here, we did have the state come in. They had been through the building. They told us that we could accommodate capacity for 18 children downstairs, 16 children upstairs. And then they gave us a list of upgrades that needed to happen to the building in order for that to happen. What had also been shared with me is that when this building was constructed, the idea was that there was going to be childcare at the lower level. What has changed in terms of regulation, so there's a manual of childcare manual, and I may have the term a little off, but that was updated in 2017. And so some of the things that we thought we would probably be able to do downstairs, we no longer can do. For instance, we would have to have preschool age children rather than infants and toddlers anywhere in this building, because for infants and toddlers, infants in particular, they have to now be at a level of egress. So there are some centers that are grandfathered in because they already had the structure that they had before those changes were made in 2017. But at this point, unless those small children were on this level and you are able to push them out the door in an emergency, we wouldn't be able to have them in those other two areas. So it have to be the preschool age children, and it's still explorable. It's not that it's not. There are some upgrades the last time that we had the state come in the building that need to happen.
I'm glad that we're on this topic. One of the questions that we have listed was, do you know if your institution has plans for a brick and mortar establishment in the near future? Before we go into that, I wanted to say that I think one of the things that we want to do, of course, in the future, I mean, the only way we're really going to have Islamic institutions is that our schools would have to be private. We're going to have businessmen. That's why the business and education go together, so that the businesses support the institutions, because they're just like when you have Catholic schools. You can teach whatever you want. We don't have to have any certain, of course you have in terms of education that you meet certain marks, but in terms of certain social things, like you can't have religion in school, you can't teach from the Quran in a certain to a certain degree. So everyone's goal is to be, in particular, Claire Muhammad School, a private Islamic institution. But back to the question, this is for, if any of you know this regarding this question, do you know if your institution, or the institution you're part of, has plans for a brick and mortar establishment in the near future?
I am not sure about that question, so I'm gonna pass off. For LVP, I'm not sure.
In regards to Mali, Imam Salim, he encourages brick and mortar institutions to adopt or get trained up or get connected with the Mali method. And so the whole purpose of Mali Muslim American Logic Institute is to present independent process of learning Quranic Arabic for a particular, age, all ages to be literate in Quran and Quranic Arabic. If we in a highly technological advanced society and we have standards for reading as an American, for you to graduate to other levels, we should put that same type of standard on ourselves to be able to read Quranic Arabic. And so the intent is to connect with institutions that are brick and mortar, homeschools, virtual, to understand, to get trained up or get leveled up with the Mali method, inshallah.
And so, and for the network, right, because the institution that I'm representing is the network. There's interest in having a brick and mortar. We ultimately want to be able to have an executive director that can do the day-to-day work of the network. Right now, it's the 4 board members that are, kind of boots to the ground, getting things done. And then we have the member schools that we meet with each month to work through as much of that stuff that we can work through together. But the goal is to ultimately have, whether it's an office space or an actual building, but to have that set up and have an executive director that can handle that day to day.
And then as far as Al Miraf or the Islamic Institute for Quran Study and Leadership, that was the intent of the partnership between Master Muhammad and this institute, to be a campus satellite site for that institute. And then under our leadership, that's where we want to incorporate all these other systems. So we have ILTDP also, we're students of that, and we bringing it here. Also, the Kyle Muhammad School, we look to build it out here as well. So in the time of the Prophet, as we tried to say earlier, in Medina, it was the model of enlightenment because it was a center of all these fields of education. The Masjid was the original womb that birthed all these different sciences. And so we want to bring that back here at Master Muhammad, where it's just not just us praying and us teaching, we actually have partnership with institutions in our association. And then you go down to what's the university? NJIT. What's the other one? Rutgers. What's another one? Essex County. There's one more. Seton Hall. Now you got Master Muhammad University.
So my university and not a school yet? I
I
don't mean to sound negative, y'all, but I'm just like, I'm just gonna talk about the school. A school that looks like another school, and it's a Muslim school.
I wanted to know, is your group involved with the 100 that they try to give financial support?
Yes, so we are connected with the 150 initiative. We did have Imam Adabeya on one of our podcasts to explain that as a funding model for the schools. That funding, for those of you who don't know, the 150 is an initiative spearheaded by Imam Adabeya out of North Carolina. And the idea behind that is that community members give $50 a month, and that pool of money goes to one institution each month. The monies go to only full-time schools. So that is the caveat. That is not going to all of those institutions. It's only going to the full-time schools. And we are very much connected with Imam Adabeya. His wife is also a part of the network. And they have a weekend school in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
So Sister Angie said she wants us to do a 50 at 50 in this masjid to establish our own school. That's what she's saying. I heard her say that.
I'm gonna give this person a question right here.
Because I'm going straight to the Muslim. Okay?
That's what I'm right doing. I heard you say about the teaching for Arabic. I'd like to know, is the teaching gonna be just online, or will I have teaching for, or I have the classes here for teaching for Arabic? Because I started it, I liked it a little bit, it was kind of hard a little bit trying to speak it, but I had the literature, I had books, and I wanted to continue it, being that I come from North Carolina to here. And I was around a lot of Muslims that were born Muslims, that's all that they knew. So they couldn't break it down to me in English. But when I got here, I found that when I came to Faja in the morning, the brothers were reading the Quran in English. And I was so happy because I got a chance to understand. Again, Muslim was so confusing. And I want to continue the classes. So is there any classes that are going to be here also, other than mine, that just online? I'd like to get with somebody to go later on, or to help me plug into it. So I can get away, I just don't want to stop now that I started. I want to continue.
And I was gonna ask you, give the information again about when the Middleoff Institute starts.
Yeah, at Muhammad-Newark, or the Institute for Crime Study and Leadership, starts September 2nd. We have an orientation August 24th. After though we have the town unit orientation. As far as chronic addict, there is a chronic component in that course, so that will be here. And then also, we're teaching the Mali method to our Sunday school from 12 to 1, so we might have to do one before Imam Ali's class, maybe from 11 to 12. So we could work on trying to do that. But as of now, we're just doing the children on Sunday, and then the chronic studies will be coming with the Arabic chronic studies will be coming with the new institute. But we can also try to create the Mali method for the adults here, because Imam Slim is open to working with us as well, our institute.
The question I was asking regarding Claremont School, I was going to ask about this. Is there a Claire Muhammad like weekend school curriculum that people can just like, if there's a masjid and they want to open up a weekend school, that there's paperwork or just, okay, here you go, you can start?
So, I get that question a lot. There is not one curriculum. I do know that, there had been some work that, was coming from the Sister Clara Muhammad Memorial Education Foundation to that regard. I don't know the status of that. As far as the network is concerned, we are working on we are working on standards, which is more like a framework. This must exist at your institution in order for it to have the Clara Muhammad look and feel. That doesn't mean that you have to use the same curriculum per se, right? Lesson plans and all of that, like a box curriculum that we're turning over. That is something that I believe that the first institution that I mentioned was working toward, and we can always reach out to Sister Layla Muhammad to get an update on that, because that is something that group has been working on. We're more interested in working on the standards, which is a framework for what has to be taught. So if you think about the public school system, they have core curriculum, right? Core curriculum gives you standards of what needs to be taught at each level and what kind of material the children need to learn. But each school may have a different company that they get their curriculum from to do that. The network is the core curriculum piece, the actual blocks curriculum that you would normally see in a school system. I believe that that's something that the Memorial Education Foundation have been working on.
I think that, Layla Muhammad and Dr. Yasmin and
Yes.
have both. They have both. So you can probably ask her, was one of them but she did.
Before I go back to before I read the question, is there anyone else who has another question? So that is another question that was always on my mind, and I think other people's minds too. This is specifically again regarding Claire Muhammad School. Because that we're in the age of technology, is there in the works a homeschool system like curriculum? A lot of homeschools, accredited homeschools. Okay.
So, homeschool specifically, I don't have a lot of information about. I do know that, in the schools that are in Georgia, they talk a lot about having a lot of homeschoolers in that area. The other piece is that we do have some virtual schools that fit sort of a homeschool model. One is New Africa Uma Online School, and they are part of the network. They provide, you know, the same education that you would get in a brick and mortar school, and they're doing that online. The other institution, and I may say it wrong, but it's connected to New Medina in Mississippi, and they also have a virtual format. So where if you perhaps wanted to homeschool, but maybe you don't have all of the skill set to do that, you can enroll your child either in the New Africa Uma Online School or the school in New Medina, Mississippi. Both of them are online, virtual, over the computer formats to have access to the education.
Sophia sent something out about homeschool. I don't know if she sent this to everybody.
Yes, my name is Aisha San. I'm from New York City. I homeschool my children, from kindergarten to 12th grade. I had to, notify the district what I was going to do, send in my syllabus, the material that I was going to use for homeschooling my children. There was, not that many states that's doing homeschooling, but now it's being done in all 50 states. But you have to get in touch with the district first. You have to have all of your material that you're going to use, your books. And also you have the opportunity to get in touch with the district, and you can have your child evaluated when the time comes for standardized testing. But sometimes we didn't choose to do standardized testing. We did our own evaluations, and we had to send all our information to the district. We couldn't do it by ourselves. All the education, we couldn't do that. And I also had a syllabus that I followed, which was helpful because it broke down each grade levels and each grade level have to, each thing that the information that, each thing that each grade has to learn for all those particular academics, science, math, English, everything. So everything had to be sent to the district. There was nothing that I couldn't do by myself.
And so New York school system is, as with every state, right, it's different because that level of sophistication and accountability to the state doesn't exist in New Jersey. You don't have to do all of those things that you had to do in New York here in New Jersey. So there are regulations that change from state to state as to what you need to do to homeschool. So whereas you had to, report back to the state consistently, New Jersey doesn't have those same regulations. And so there's more freedom to kind of just get the homeschooling started.
There's no freedom.
Yeah.
They just want to do, what they want, yeah.
Thank you. Some more of the questions we have is, how is your institution promote, this is very important, how is your institution currently promoting itself to the Muslim community and the general community at large? So that the community can know that you exist. It might go in people's minds, but they don't know that you even exist. So what way that they're trying to reach out to the public?
Say that again?
The question is, if you're, these institutions that we have, Claremont School, Al-Maraf, Mali, the question is, how are they making themselves known to the Muslim community? Because there might be people who just never heard of it. And then we're in the age of technology. What are they doing to make sure that other Muslims are aware of these schools?
So ILTDP, mainly online on Facebook, and also through our mechanism when we presented in front of the community on NDRI 50, that was a big way to promote what we're doing as far as the cohort. There is plans still for a more robust marketing plan and stratagem that will be launching soon for the new cohort. It will be cohort number 3. So for cohort number 3 for LTDP, you'll see more of a robust marketing strategy online and in person that will soon be available to you all. Oh, 4, excuse me. Cohort number 4, I'm sorry. We're cohort number 2. Cohort number 3 has already started, and then there will be recruitment for cohort 4 was commence really soon, inshallah. For the Islamic Leadership Training and Development Program, ILTDP. Yes,
Not a school.
it is a school. Virtual.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
school.
That's what.
Yeah, adult education. Same thing with Muslim American Language Institute. By way of this publication, the students are now publishing. So that's allowing us to show the product, being a product of the product, as well as we had a long-standing column in the Muslim Journal. Now we're on all the social medias, at least for Facebook and YouTube. We also have weekly broadcasts on Thursdays at 7 p.m. That's also on Facebook. And then we have these conferences, the Muslim American Logic Institute conferences. Inshallah, we're pitching so that maybe we can host next year, inshallah. So hopefully y'all get ready to see Mali live in action, inshallah. And then also the tour of the Imam Salim Bookman with his new book, Transcending Thought. Muslim American Logic Institute. We say the expression Mali, but the acronym is Muslim American Logic Institute, or you go to muslimamericanlogic.org. muslimamericanlogic.org.
And so for the Clyde Muhammad Schools Network, we have our website, which is cmsnetwork.org. We also are present on Facebook. That's Clyde Muhammad Schools Network on Facebook. It's also Clyde Muhammad Schools Network on YouTube. And again, we have the podcast every Sunday at 7 p.m. Where we discuss various different topics related to the schools as well as to just the development of young children in general. We also, when there are opportunities, we take out ads in the various different ad journals of the events that are happening around the community so that people are familiar with us. We have presented at a time to be grateful in the past. I think we've presented twice for them. So when there are opportunities to present, we do that as well. And so that's how we're engaging with the community so that they know about the work that we're doing.
And again, the current partnership that we're going to launch, August 24th will be our open house or orientation. And then we will begin the classes September 2nd. So on the website, and inshallah, we'll have some flyers print out for those who want to join the local partnership between Master Muhammad and IQSL. Will be here live in person 3 times a week, inshallah.
What is that gonna be?
So what?
That's gonna be again?
It's going to be a 2-year program for different subjects of the basis of Al-Islam and Quranic Arabic.
Any questions in the audience? One of our last questions. How do you see your institution furthering Imam Muhammad's vision to establish community life?
For ILTDP, I think it's a training ground for the future generations of leaders. I think it's a great place to start out in getting the framework of our 90-year plus history, getting the framework of the knowledge body and understanding of the knowledge body of Imam Muhammad, and also a crash course introduction to all of Islamic sciences. I think it's a great place to start, and then I like to describe it like what Imam Mujahideen said, the university, because once you start here, you can go to Mali, you can go to ILI, you can go to Al-Miraq, you can pivot through all of those arenas and get something out of each one that's unique to each one, which I think is also a question. But I think ILTDP is a great way to start for your leadership, for your development, because they also talk about organizational leadership, communication skills as well. Because it's not just being an imam. You don't have to be an imam to be in this program. As long as you have an interest, a sincere interest in community development and moving our community forward, male or female, you're more than welcome to start here at ILTDP, 2-year program, and then inshallah graduating through that program and maybe take up some of these other programs as well.
One of the expressions, Imam Salim says, and I kind of really believe it as well. You cannot have New Africa without Mali, right? Mali stands for the Muslim American Logic Institute. If New Africa is to be built on these shores, and we've been blessed to understand the Quran with our own mind, learning the Quranic Arabic independent of someone else's school of thought, someone else's corruption even of Arabic. Sometimes people don't know, we think just because you can read and speak Arabic, that gives you enough to understand Quranic Arabic. Quranic Arabic is the pure revelation from Allah. And so Mali is an institute that's open for all, right? If the Quran is for all, and we're learning to understand it for ourselves, that institute replicates that practice. Some people, as you hear, even Imam Bilal said, you don't have to be imam. Sometimes we have this notion in our community to be a leader, to be an imam, makes you, I guess, the one who knows everything, right? But in learning Quran Arabic, it's about how much you put in, right? There are people, I'm actually I'm gonna say it. I'm actually I don't even know what to call it. I'm not the smartest one in the class, but I'm the only imam in my class, but I'm not the most advanced in my class. Because it's about the time you put in, it's about the sincerity of what you're studying it for and what you need too, right? And so, and these men and women are older than me, twice my age, but they're able to pick it up. Like I said, it's built for our type of environment, our type of orientation. And so I'm not making an excuse, but I'm just saying any one of you or any one of us, young or old, can learn Quranic Arabic with this method. It's not like the what they call it, the blue pill, red pill. It's a reality. Like, just like we're communicating with you and you can understand what we're saying, if you learn the basic principles of the Quranic grammar, Allah will be directly communicating through you or to you with the revelation. And so that's advancing Imam Muhammad's mission, because we know our community is the movement of the Quran. And that's something, inshallah, Imam Salim is going to come here and share with us the movement of the Quran and our association. Going back to Farad, he makes that picture, that picture that everybody sees, what's his name, Gordon Parks? Yeah, Farad looking at the Quran, Elijah Muhammad sitting, Imam Muhammad with his hand on the shoulder with the Quran in his hand. Identifying the evolution of our Quran through those 3 stages of our community development.
And so the Klein Muhammad Schools Network is a direct product of Imam Muhammad's mission for the vision of education in New Africa, right? So as I stated earlier, New Africa isn't New Africa without education for our children, right? Because ultimately they become the adults and then they're responsible for educating the children, and the information follows that individual, right? I'm going to share 2 quotes from Imam Muhammad that are sort of guideposts for us in the Klein Muhammad Schools Network. The first is, the most important tool in the Quran is education. The most important tool in the effort to advance the Ummah, the community of Al-Islam, or the Ummah community of Muhammad, is education. And so that was Imam Muhammad, A Sacred Matter in 2017. And then the second one is, we must keep it together, even if we have only one child, one school. And that was another quote from Imam Muhammad. And then many people often talk about when Imam Muhammad was in Sedalia and he gave a charge to the educators to get in the room with the Quran and build this thing out. That's the work of the Klein Muhammad Schools Network. That's our interest, right? And so that's what we are working diligently to do with these standards that I've told you about, is to have them be aligned with the Quran, have them be aligned with the Sunnah of the Prophet, and have them to reflect the tafsir of Imam Muhammad. And so that's the alignment with moving forward the work of the imam as it relates to Al-Islam and building out in Africa. And we invite others to join that work because it is a big work, right? And so, you know, I hear the questions about where things are and the hope for things to be further down the line. And at the same time, you know, oftentimes the work is being done by few. And so I'm inviting, you know, those who are interested. We currently have openings on our board for the Clyde Muhammad Schools Network. We had one brother locally to apply. So inshallah we'll be interviewing him soon. But we look for people to be a part of the work because it is a big work and it is a big lift, especially when we talk about private education, right? And I hear the questions and the interest about public funding, and I don't have an opinion one way or another, but when we're talking about private education, that takes a different level of commitment to lift off the ground because we're not necessarily tapping into things that are in the common space.
I'm doing double duty. So, and again, IQSL, Institute for Crime Study and Leadership, now known as MMN. You can check their website out at IQSANL.com. No, it's N, A-N-D, yeah, IQSANDL.com, IQSANDL.com. This partnership and the Institute and Imam Rashad himself, who was a student of Imam Muhammad, may Allah have mercy on him, and as he says, Imam Muhammad taught him before he started going into these other sciences, that now his institute is also giving certifications in these different fields of study. So his leadership himself, Imam Rashad leadership, what he's doing on the social media and the global relationship, as well as partnering with imams who are coming into leadership and organizations and masjids to be campus or satellite sites for his institute to going to advance our community even further, because our young people that you see here, they can go through all these different systems that we have without going overseas, without going in someone else's culture, being influenced to get them away from their mission. They can stay among us, learn all these different sciences of Al-Islam, learn the Quranic Arabic for themselves, and be able to study any science that comes in the system, in the school system, and still keep their innocence, still keep their mission to our community. So the partnership that we decided to do with IQSL and Muhammad was to just do that, advance us as leaders, but also as community members to be prepared to communicate to the public. So the public may not have the patience to sit here as you all are doing on a Friday night. You know what go down on Friday night. So we get this. Do you know what go down on Friday night? We get this. We become influencers in our environment. As we talk about tomorrow, business, culture, and marriage and family life, we'll be able to develop these institutions in our environment so that we can have this complete knowledge community that we're learning about and teaching about.
IQSNL. Oh, IQSNL. ANDL. AND. IQSANDL.com.
Are there any more questions from the audience? No. Yeah, concludes. We want to thank all the participants for this first workshop session for the Africa conference. I hope that the audience has learned something and educated. Even if you didn't know the amount of institutions we have in our community, I hope you were much aware of that. I'm going to read right now the workshops for tomorrow for the Africa conference. But before I do, I wanted to say to learn more about the vision or the terminology of New Africa. I think one of the number one, well, it's not online anymore, but it would have been to search out on YouTube Muhammad's address at the Apollo But what is online is the Imam Muhammad's Last Savior's Day, and it was called Sensitive Issues in Black History. It's a very important lecture because whenever Imam Muhammad he's reading for most of the lecture, reading from his notes, because he wanted to take time to address very important, serious things regarding the African American history and our history as people within the African American history itself. But okay, let me conclude. So I'm going to read. Inshallah, you'll come out tomorrow for our other workshops. The second annual New Africa Conference. The theme of the conference is, and all the themes of the workshops are quotes from Imam Muhammad. The theme of this entire weekend is New Africa, a new chance to establish Al-Islam with our own hands. So this Saturday, the workshops will begin at 10 a.m. Okay, it's down here. At 10 a.m. It's going to go to economics. And the topic is Al-Islam's climate for business success, from Black Wall Street to New Africa communities. Again, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon, Al-Islam's climate for business success, from Black Wall Street to New Africa communities. Following that, the workshop from 2 to 4 p.m. is on culture. The topic, Remaking the World, creating our own New Africa culture founded upon Al-Quran and the life example of Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next workshop, Marriage and Family, the Foundation, the beauty, the benefits, and the challenges of marrying within our own ethnic racial group. All these topics and subjects we just pulled from Imam Muhammad's suggestions, topics, interests that he saw was really unnecessary for us to move forward as a people, as a community, and to really establish New Africa. One of the workshops that my brother and I were going to be doing on culture has to do with the aesthetics, the like architecture, clothing, our music. These are things Imam Muhammad talked about. He on several occasions how our clothing should look, not specifically, but where we should draw from, where we should draw our musical inspiration from, where we should draw our architecture from. And New Africa should have a look. Just like we have Chinatown, we have Little Italy, I think in Chicago's Little Poland. New Africa should have a look. And it should come from our culture as African people. So inshallah, tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., we hope to see you out there at the masjid and be ready to learn and also share and participate. So without any further ado, hold on.
It's gonna be here.
It's going to be here, Masjid Muhammad.
I'm making that. Back in 1975, I lived in Holland, and my oldest daughter at the time was 5 years old. And it was Malcolm Shabair's masjid is called now, but it's called Temple Number 7. And she went to the University of Islam. And when she came home, she told me she had something like science, math, world history. And I was like, wow, 5 years old, have those kind of subjects. And she used to say, history tells about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and science means to put things into order. And I thought that was so interesting. It was advanced for kindergarten to me. So I just wanted to share that with everyone.
We'll close with last comments from our presenters.
Definitely, take advantage of the opportunities, that are in front of you. Today, if you first learned about all of these institutions, I implore, you to share this information to others who are not present, that these institutions actually exist and they are for us. They are for us, they were started for us to grow as a community, to mature. And I think this is gonna be a crucial part of our matriculation as a group of people turning 100 and going forward, is to invest more in educating ourselves about our being, about our history, and about where we're going as a community moving forward, the educating of our children. So definitely, please, follow up on any institution that you piques your interest, or follow up on all of them, but definitely, share this information to your friends and family, inshallah.
Quickly, again, we said free, Mali is free, right? All you have to do is pay attention, take your time, learn, and it's really your direct communication from Allah, simple as that. We were on a call and a sister, I forget what call we were on. A sister was saying that, was that? We were on some call where a sister was saying that the misreading of the Quran about striking your wife in class, about striking your wife, has been a damage to not just the human family, but to Muslims. Because of misunderstanding of the Quranic Arabic, or the Quranic understanding. So it's very important that we learn directly what Allah is revealing to us, because other than that, other people will be over us telling us what Allah said, what God said, and we could be really destroying ourselves and the human family.
Did Allah say beat your wife and hit
The people who understand that ayat from a level that's not the correct understanding, the model from the Prophet is not to strike your wife.
Or not to strike
No.
your wife.
The example, the term gives us an example of something to demonstrate. It means to actually control yourself. So it's actually counter what it is. A lot of people get beat up in the name of religion. Look what's going on in these different conflicts around the world based off of misunderstanding of the reading of the scriptures. So the importance of the Muslim American Lodge Institute to learn Quranic Arabic for yourself is so that as Allah is elevating us as a community to be in charge of our affairs and the environment, we won't continue to perpetuate these misreadings of Revelation.
So for the thing, this Muhammad-Newark Institute, is, Imam Rashad gonna be here for that, housing?
Yeah, inshallah, 24. Yeah, we'll put that information in.
Are the classes, free, or they?
Yeah, the classes have been sponsored. This first cohort has been sponsored by our business people. So again, if you're interested, all they ask is that you pay attention and be serious about the studies. Inshallah.
And so my last words are to, for those who, have an interest in the, Clara Muhammad School, I'm encouraging you to, even if the school is a weekend school, I hear the interest in a full-time school, and we do have that interest. But I'm also encouraging us to bring our children out to the weekend schools that exist, because quite often that is the precursor to the full-time school. And it tells us the interest that is in the area. So, oftentimes I get inquiries about having a full-time school, and it's coming from people who don't have young children or aren't connected to young children, or when we had the full-time school, didn't bring their young children out. And that's not a criticism, it's just an observation that, you know, there's an interest in having a full-time school verbally, but sometimes we don't see that in action. And so I'm encouraging those who have young children or are connected to young children to send your children out to, even if it's a weekend school, because that's telling the people in the community that there's an interest in, that there's an interest for a full-time school, right? Because, you know, even when we look at the institutions that are in our area, the charters and the public schools, but specifically the privates and the charters, they're doing a needs assessment to figure out whether or not they can have, you know, a certain number of children, that there's an actual interest in their institution. And so when we don't see the children even coming to the weekend school, then that's sending us a message as well. So I'm just encouraging everyone to, if you have young children in your life, to send them out to the school, because that's now going to help to build what ultimately will be a full-time
What's
institution.
the age?
The ages here at our weekend school are 6 to 17.
6 to 7.
Inshallah, don't go too far. Follow your hand, inshallah. So inshallah, we'll close out. There is one more institution, as was said at the beginning, there wasn't able to be a president, but it's the ILI, that's the IslamicLI.org. IslamicLI.org, which stands for the Islamic Learning Institute. Their website is IslamicLI.org, inshallah. So inshallah, we'll just close out with a quick dua, and then we'll have Salatul Maghrib again tomorrow. We'll be here from 10 to 6, inshallah. There is a registration. We just ask you that you register, because there is, we were trying to get a number so we could get food. So those who register, we'll be able to take care of our chef, and we'll have some food for you all. If not, you have to buy it, inshallah. So, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Let us, our Lord, let our Lord increase us, our Lord, give us the excellence in this life and the excellence in the future, and save us from those fiery passions that can lead us to sin. Ameen.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
It's nowhere else. We'll,
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله